Welcome today to a special WikiTree livecast. We have Elaine, who is the PL of Jewish Roots in the Holocaust, here with us today to talk about a very, very special initiative that is started. And I am going to say hello to Elaine, and could you tell us what this initiative is and why we're here today?
Sure. So we're trying to add all known victims at Auschwitz concentration camp. The date of liberation, quote unquote, is January 27th, and it'll be the 80th anniversary this year. And that's the last, well, a lot of survivors are dying. So this will be one of the last times that they can do the March of the Living, that kind of thing. It's estimated there are about 1.1 million people who died at the camps, at Auschwitz concentration camp. And I think that we can get to about 550,000 or so that are easily documented online from these various sources that I've listed on the page. So yeah, that's the goal. Some people are adding just one person at a time. Other people are adding whole groups of families. So we have a lot, especially for the Netherlands, we have a lot more people who died at Sobibor and other places like that. So we're adding entire family groups as we go, but it depends on how the WikiTreeer chooses to work. Anything that works for them works for us.
I think it's interesting. Something that I learned from you last week is you mentioned on the GDG Post, which is posted at the very top of the chat and also down below in the description, that there is not one single place to collect about the 500,000 individuals that died at Auschwitz. And you mentioned that, I just got chills. So you mentioned that here at WikiTree and with WikiTreeers' help, we can come together and make one place for people to find those 500,000.
Yeah, and so Yad Vashem has about 680,000 entries, and Yad Vashem only covers Jewish victims. The standard definition of the Holocaust would be about 6 million Jewish people who died. A more extended definition would include other victims of Nazi persecution. So, I mean, we could call the project Holocaust and Victims of Nazi Persecution Project. But anyway, so that would include Jehovah's Witnesses, gay people, some Catholic priests, Polish Catholic priests. Anyway, so Yad Vashem just covers Jewish victims. They have about 660,000 entries. They have about a 20% duplicate rate, something like that. They're working on, anyone can help reducing that duplicate rate. So that the reason they have that is because they have several people on transport lists, several people on death records, and they've combined some, but not all of those records. So yeah, it's all kind of fuzzy math, but that's what we're working with. And other locations that have non-Jewish victims are like Erelson Archives, and there's several websites with a lot of different information. And it'd be great if we could kind of all get that into one place, and in not just lists of people, but connected to families, so that we can see how you and me and everyone else are connected to these people.
It's just like anyone that's doing genealogy on their own family as well. We all want to be connected. We all want to be seen and heard. And I think it's a special project that you have coming together where we as WikiTreeers can look at a bigger goal of bringing these that were persecuted at Auschwitz, murdered at Auschwitz, into WikiTree and work on connecting them. Now, I will say that I was extremely knew about this project on WikiTree Day. Elaine had a presentation that this was the goal that you've been working on for a while now, and kind of crunching the numbers to see how we can make this work on WikiTree. But I was so nervous because I didn't want to mess something up. This is too important for me to mess something up. And then after talking to Elaine, she goes, please just help. But you can't mess it up. There's always ways to fix things. So if you're nervous about starting, if you're not sure where to start, if you are confused about how a profile should look or the locations, you're in the right place. Because today we're going to walk you through this to give you a little bit of comfort level, because I'm going to ask Elaine to give us some stats. Now, we talked about this last week, and the stats might change just a little bit, but you were saying if we could get, this is the minimum, we would shoot for more, 100 WikiTreeers to do, I think, 18, 19 profiles a day. Well, just based off a 30-day month, we're not going to add or subtract the months. We could make this goal, and the goal date is in January 2025. So we could make this goal with 100 WikiTrees. Can you imagine what we could do if we had 200, for example?
200 doing 9 a day, that would be
Yeah.
a little more reasonable. And obviously, I kind of wanted to just be able to talk to just people who are already on WikiTree at first before doing more outreach. And we've had like virtually no trouble with anyone doing strange things on WikiTree. Like I haven't had to do hand holding, or really, like, there's instructions, people read them and people do profiles, and it's pretty easy. So we don't really have 100 or 200 WikiTreeers who want to do this all the time. So I need to do more outreach. I haven't been ready to do that until like getting this project off the ground just with WikiTreeers. So yeah, that's kind of the next step. Yes, it's very ambitious. No, we might not be able to make it, but we'll try.
but it's definitely worthy because it is something big. This is really a special thing for WikiTreeers to do. And I appreciate everybody joining us today. This is not an easy topic. We admit that. This is not an easy topic. And I always tell people, protect your heart a little bit while you're going through these, because you will see entire families that are no longer here for no fault of their own. So we appreciate everybody that's here watching, and those that are watching after the live cast. We invite you to jump in, and I will invite you to, if you have any concerns or questions or nervous, reach out to Elaine, because that's what I did. And she alleviated my fears, and I started working with the U.S. Holocaust Museum. And then I also started working with the Italians. I know nothing about the Italians, and I was interested in the Italians. I'm glad to see that Mark Lemon is here. Mark Lemon is actually a PC for Greece, and he found a list of individuals that were persecuted in Auschwitz from Greece. So there are pockets of things that might interest you with this project that you never thought of before. And there are other ways just to help out another WikiTree and another project. Do you need to be a member of the Holocaust Project to do this?
Nope. If
you need a lot of prior experience with Jewish records, or do you need to know Hebrew language?
No, and I mean, if you really want to delve into research on each family, then you need to know that particular country's records more so than Jewish records in particular. But you can also just all the sources that we've mentioned in the main post already have a date of birth, date of death, place of birth, generally, and place of death. So, so you don't have to know the country's records in order to enter profiles. But if you want to do more with the family, then yeah, you need to learn a little bit about the country. And I need to link some pages better, but I do have a page called, I think, Holocaust Language Resources that has, well, that one's more a word list for the different countries involved. But if you just Google family search the country in Wiki, Family Search has a great wiki on all the different countries that introduce you to records for different time periods. So you can learn more about those if you want. So it's kind of whichever way you want to work, more like data entry or more like deep research with whole families. It's all good.
And I like that you said that, because we all do things a little different with WikiTree. Some of us don't want to leave an individual profile, and we want to try and research. So you've got that opportunity. But Elaine is also saying that if only one profile is what you can enter, don't be nervous about leaving that one profile, because they're in a certain category. And we're going to show you this in a minute. They're in a certain category, and we can connect. We can work on this, but we got to get them in to WikiTree first before we can do further work on it. So let's go ahead and bring up some information right off the bat. This is the Holocaust page. And again, these links are down below in the description. You can easily find them on WikiTree. Reach out to Elaine, reach out to me. We're both on Discord and all over WikiTree in general. Elaine can be found on the Jewish Roots and the Holocaust Project. If you would like to join the Holocaust Project, this would be the link that you go to. And you can also find out a little bit more information in general about the Holocaust. I want to remind everybody that the initiative that we're working on through, I think it's January 25th?
7th.
27th. The initiative we're working on through January 27th is the victims of Auschwitz. So that is a sub-project within the Holocaust Project. And to join, just like any other WikiTree project, you'll go to their project page and there is a GDG welcome post and you can join the Holocaust Project. You do not need to join the project to participate in this initiative. But when you do join, you get a little bit more information, a little bit more access to, say, the Google group for questions and information along the way. By no means, if we finish this initiative, this does not, complete the Holocaust Project. There's a lot of work to do beyond this particular initiative. So I don't want everybody to think, okay, so if we meet this goal in January, then we have completed everything we could do to the Holocaust. I would say, Elaine, that's just a small bit, right?
Yeah.
And I'll let you guys peruse the page. There are some stickers. We're going to talk about stickers as well. There are very specific stickers that we're using for the Auschwitz project. But if you're interested in joining the Holocaust Project and helping Elaine out, it would be the page. And again, it's down in the description. Okay, let's talk about the GDG Post, because this started with WikiTree Day 2025, and it was mentioned, but the GDG post really was the call to action in my mind. When you posted this, you got my attention. And I know you got a lot of other people's attention. The thing that I think is important takeaways from this is, as Elaine says, the front page of WikiTree says something big. You can be part of something big. And this is also free. WikiTree is free. There's no cost to it. And no prior experience needed. Jump on in. And that's exactly what I did, but only because Elaine gave me the courage to do so.
I don't know that I did much, but okay.
But I think the important thing here to mention is these are ideas of where you can start. And Elaine, could you talk to us about these different source repositories?
Sure. 𝐻𝐸's monument is both in Dutch and English, and it's for all, I believe they've documented all Dutch victims. So there were about 105,000 Dutch Jews. Well, a lot of them had just moved from Germany, like 20,000 had just moved from Germany. But anyway, there were, in 1939, there were 105,000 Dutch Jews. Y'all can fact check. I'm sure I'm off by a bit. But anyway, about 75,000 of them died. Not just at Auschwitz, maybe I think 60,000 died at Auschwitz, the rest mostly at Sobibor, a few other places. Anyway, so if you're very easily emotionally affected, maybe don't go with that one because everybody died. Yeah.
But you did tell me something interesting yesterday, and I feel kind of a fool for not realizing this. And you mentioned, we were talking about the different places to find information and how Jews did move to avoid the persecution. And you said, the Jews and the Dutch. Anne Frank was part of that 20,000 Germans that moved. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about
the numbers, but yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, they moved. I'm no Anne Frank expert at all. Like, I just know the Wikipedia version like everyone else. But yeah, I think they moved when they moved in the the mid 30s, something like that. I remember they said her mother didn't adjust well to the move. But anyway, yeah, a lot of people had moved to the Netherlands for safety.
So if you think that you don't know the Netherlands very well, you might know it better than you think, and it is in English as well. Like,
yeah, I find it.
You speak Dutch?
Sorry?
Do you speak Dutch?
Oh, no. I know a handful of genealogical words. I've upped my vocabulary a bit. I probably know like 40 words. Not enough to get anything done, really.
But you just proved a great point, because this is one that you're working off, right? You're working off the
Yeah,
Jew?
oh, but I'm only
Yeah.
using the English one, and their website is so well set up. Everything, and since they've spent years connecting all the family members and even parents who died in like 1910 or something, they have a lot of information, or they have a brief bit of information about them on there. And the thing with the Dutch records is, even off that website, they're all freely available in English and Dutch and maybe other languages. On the web. So there's, where do I have it? I have it somewhere on one of the WikiTree pages. Different Dutch resources like these, the 𝐻𝐸, like who is who, is a freely available Dutch and English record source, and you can find birth, marriage, death for nearly everyone back to like 1800 or something. But anyway, I guess there are a lot. You won't see a whole lot of birth records for this Holocaust era because privacy rules. But there's a lot of marriage records, and on the marriage records they name the parents. So if you want to learn, if you do want to learn a new area to research, I find the Netherlands is the easiest for English speakers.
I love that you said that, because again, if you're nervous about jumping in and you're really not sure where to jump in at, Elaine feels comfortable using the Jews to start with, and I love that. And then
someone else might find something else. I've just gotten so used to it. I need to branch out more, because I know some of the German ones that Flo just added to WikiTree BEE are also pretty user-friendly. But I think a lot of the German records are housed in different states, and it's just a little bit harder to find. But anyway, I will learn it soon.
And the next one on your list is
Yad Vashem. So that's the online memorial for all Jews who died. It's based in Israel, and it's been going since like 1953 or something. Not online, obviously, but they've been collecting data and pages of testimony. So any family member, any researcher, but usually it's family members, can send in a page of testimony, and they're in all different languages, and they've all been translated to a lot of languages. If you go to the top of Yad Vashem, you can click the button and pick any language you want to view it in, like 8 languages, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so they have tons of records, and a lot of people have multiple records per person. So you can see their transport list, you can see their occasionally a death record, but they don't have additional genealogical sources on there. You got to go find those yourself. But they typically have a birth date and birthplace, stuff like that, or at least their last place of residence.
And then the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, they are a little different as well. They have a separate Auschwitz search.
Mm-hmm. And that's for I think that separate Auschwitz database is just the 𝐟𝐫𝐸𝐿. I can't say it right, but the death books of Auschwitz. So out of those 1.1 million, about 65,000 people, 67,000 had a full death certificate written up. So that has their birth and death information, birth and place and date and all that kind of stuff. Maybe sometimes their occupation. I can't remember. Anyway, and I forgot to put it to you before, Sandy, that I'm only through the D's, but I've put the 𝐟𝐫𝐸𝐿 information on a Google sheet. So some people like to be more organized. I can't say I'm one of those people, but if you want to work from a spreadsheet, kind of like the US Black Heritage 1880 project, then you can go to this spreadsheet, put in your WikiTree ID, and say which people you're working on. Anyway, so that's from the 𝐟𝐫𝐸𝐿 German source, and you can pull, if you want to cite it, you can cite it from USHMM, or you can cite it from Yad Vashem. There are several places that have that information.
And I will say that
sometimes the website's really slow. So if you get frustrated with it, just go to a different website. It is what it is.
I agree. I started with the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum because I instantly just thought, okay, United States English. I've been there, so I just felt like that was calling my name. And what they have as well is different lists, and I don't know how I stumbled on it, but I stumbled on the list, and I just picked one list to work off of that had about 1,200 souls that that had died at Auschwitz or murdered at Auschwitz. So if you like working off a particular list that I think they had like 40 pages of lists, something like that, you might want to try and look at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum for the list. And then the next one is a French source, and it gives us a good time. Could you please tell us that might not know, what is Shoah?
Oh, it's the Holocaust in Hebrew, and that's very specifically for Jewish victims. That's not an expandable or definition. And it's used a lot in Israel and France, and it might catch on more here eventually. I don't know, but anyway, yes, that's what that is. You can click on it. I haven't used it as much as I should. Isabel introduced me to it, and I've used it just a little bit. My brain's been so many different places. I guess, this is just what I always do. Can you put in Orenstein in all fields? Oh, it did the in-browser translation. Oh, that's cool. That's like the one side I don't put the in-browser translate on. French is the only thing I'm good at. Everything else, I'm kind of like, oh, I might know 20 or 30 words.
Well, I think if you are fluent in French or know French, this would be a good website as well. If not, you can try to translate. As Elaine even mentions, there's an in-browser translator. I'm using Google Chrome. Google Chrome comes with a translator. I'm not sure about Firefox. Somebody in chat might be able to help us. Or with Safari. I don't.
And really, with French, you probably only need, for that website, you probably only need to know like 4 words. And it's pretty obvious what the birth date and death is. Like, you can just make sense of the numbers. So you don't, yeah. And that site is great because it includes all the information that Frances found on that particular person, like all the different transport lists. Like, some people were transported multiple times, and they just gather as much information as possible there. So yeah, it's a really great one. I need to dive more into it. Yeah.
Now, I know that I've been testing out, and we've mentioned Flow, we've mentioned BEE, and mentioning that work with BEE. They have really come up and worked with different source places for sourcing websites, and there's an Italian one that they have. There's several German ones. I'm probably going to say this wrong. They're
Oh yeah, I haven't put them in the main post. If you scroll down a little bit to Flo's post, it's a comment.
See the others. But I think this really goes and speaks to pick a source, a website that you feel comfortable with. Try out a couple different ones, and we're going to do a couple quick demos with BEE to show you how easy it is, and to show you the formatting that we want you to use to make it a little easier to work on these profiles after this initiative is over. But I think this also speaks to what you said. There's not one place where everything is collected. There's a lot of different places, and WikiTree has this opportunity to put everything in one place. And the spreadsheet. So is this a spreadsheet you were mentioning before?
Yes, that is it. Yes, the purple one right there.
So you were recommending, if somebody looks at this spreadsheet, you could leave an answer on this GDG post and say, I'm working on the T's, I'm working on the S's. So there's not a lot of duplication or.
Yeah. And really, I'm not concerned about duplicates, like duplicate profiles on WikiTree so much, because so many of these people have actual death date or birth dates. And birthplaces. Like, WikiTree's matching system picks up pretty well. So it's more like, if you were annoyed that someone was researching the same family as you, we could avoid that by using the spreadsheet. But honestly, there's so many people that odds that we're going to be working on the same family are just low. So not too worried about that. You can click on that. If you're logged into Google, you can click on that, that purple one there, just to see it. I think so. I moved everything. I did have it set by 1,000 and 3,000, etc. Now, okay, yeah. So I'm still doing copy paste work. I haven't finished that yet. So yeah, that was one. Minna was already on WikiTree, I think. Oh yeah. So probably we're going to get this later, but basically, anytime you see Sarah or Israel as a middle name, that's not their middle name. that was added by the German government in like 1939. If you see it on multiple sources, maybe that was their middle name, but anyway, you can just leave that off. You can cite it in the source section, but don't put it as their middle name or double first name or anything.
And I agree with Isabel. The main difficulty would be name variants for duplicates that I know that we use Yad Vashem, and then also the U.S. Holocaust Museum. The name variants can be slightly different, but we will get them in, and we know that there's work to do afterwards. The Holocaust Project knows that there's still a little bit of work to do afterwards, and this is just part of it. And then Germans don't have middle names anyway. Please use double first names. So what Flo's saying is when you're doing a profile for those of us in America that have first name and then that middle name field on the WikiTree profile, Germans typically do not use that middle name profile. They just put both names.
And Isabel, sorry, I know I asked you and you told me before, but do French have a middle name, or is it double first name like Dutch and German? Like, I don't know where I'm going to put all these all these important information things for all these different countries.
And then this is kind of where this is a good transition, because this is kind of where we're going to show you guys what to do, to how to add a profile. We're going to show you a couple different source websites to do that, but a couple things to mention. And Elaine has documented it, and not only is she documented here, but there is a separate space page, and we'll show you that in a minute, that that Elaine has given you samples. Like, you could just literally copy and paste, put it in your WikiTree browser extension clipboard, this little thing up here, so that way you will have it and you can use it for each profile that you're entering, so you don't have to manually type or manually copy and paste. And Isabel says that it's multiple first names in France as well. And Lisa as well says double first name for French Canadians as well.
So I guess the better question is it only Americans who use their middle name? Yeah. I'm learning a lot. I'm not an expert on any.
Well, this is great, because we're also learning about how to do WikiTree profiles globally as well. So, okay, so the couple things that we want to remind you again, we're working on just those that were victims that died at Auschwitz for this initiative. Elaine is giving us the category that she would like us to use, the main camp category, and I found out why she wants us to use that. A little side reason she wants us to use that besides the accuracy of it. So Elaine, why should we use this particular category?
As opposed to Auschwitz 1 or 3?
Yeah.
Because 90% of people died at the Auschwitz 2, aka Birkenau. But if you have documents that say otherwise, then absolutely use the Auschwitz 1 or Auschwitz 3. But if a document says they simply died at Auschwitz, then use the Birkenau one.
And also, I'll tell you,
sometimes it's hard to know. Like, well, there's one page of testimony. I was trying to go through Yad Vashem's anyone who died at, quote, Auschwitz 1. And I was looking at a couple pages of testimony. I'm like, well, I don't think they knew either. The people writing it in 1960 or whatever. So, but any of the 3 categories is good. It's better than nothing. That's the main thing we're using to track the profiles, is just that one victim.
And I'm so glad you just said that word. Okay, so Elaine and I talked a little bit last week about this. This is a common question with WikiTree when we do things like this. No, there is not a tracker. It's not appropriate for this particular thing. So I know that you probably.
I'm so sorry. I spaced out for a second. Can you say that again?
There's no tracker. This isn't a hit the green tracker button every time you do something on an Auschwitz 2025 initiative profile. It just isn't really appropriate for this. It's more of a community coming together to do something worthy, and I pointed out, I know there's more, but Flo mentioned also in the post that there's database Jews in the German Reich, and also the memorial book, Victims of Persecution, of Jews. So there are more as well. Like I mentioned, we added well, not we, Flo added the Italian database and I just wanted to show some of the answers. This is really great. So a lot of you are already responding to this. I love it. You're saying what you're going to work on in the Jude's Monument. They're going to work on pages 1 to 3. Swin, actually, I got to give a shout out to him because he saw the WikiTree Day 2023 presentation, and I think he started the next day. He was already working on a free space on, I think it's his general area where he researches, and he's done some beautiful profiles as well, and he's jumped in on that. There's a lot of people that are saying specifically what you're working on, and that really, really helps because that allows people to find another area to work on or another letter, for example, to work on. So
like he is covering Norway completely. It's they're almost 800. Well, he says 772 people deported. Most of them died, and he's over halfway through. I think he's done 450. So he's entering kind of one source on everything, and then a couple other Norwegians are adding more sources and family and stuff. So
that's a really great, that's a group effort. That's a really great group effort. So somebody will get them in, and then somebody will come afterwards to try and connect them during this initiative. But this is another example where you might not have thought, Norway, why would I work on Auschwitz victims, from Norway? And as I'm learning, they were everywhere. And Elaine has really been great about educating that don't have your view just really small or follow it, because that's wrong.
I have received lots of excellent educations from all of our European members. I am so grateful. I learn something new every day from all the WikiTrees. And before we forget or whatever, Anne asked about adding the Jewish roots sticker. You can add the sticker or the category, whichever, it's personal preference. And then if a descendant comes along and wants to change it, so be it. But if you're adding yourself sticker or category, either one. And I've added a couple of Catholic stickers on profiles too, just so I can test out WikiTree Plus's searching abilities. And also, I just added a Romani heritage German Sinti category. If any of y'all have experience with Roma people, please contact me. There are 21,000 Roma Sinti who died at Auschwitz alone. And it's a small insular community. I don't think we have any Roma on WikiTree. We have a couple British people who've worked with their records a bit, but yeah, I could use help on that. Oh yeah, so My Heritage has Lewis, My Heritage, that's the same. You can use My Heritage or USHM to access those same records. That's all the same. I may have said 67. That's all the exact same. It's all from the 𝐟𝐫𝐿𝐵𝐿, the German death record book. And some of it you can see on Internet Archive. They have they have like a partial printed book of some of the death certificates with a few photos of people, but it doesn't have all 65,000. It's a lot less than that, but it's an interesting book to look at.
Well, you did remind me of a question that I had that I was going to post on GDG, but I figured I would take presenter rights and ask you live. Oh, there are a lot of photos on different sources. Are we allowed to use those with attribution?
I don't. I wouldn't. Sorry, I brought both my dogs in because I have 5 kids without and my kind friend who's watching them. Hey guys, you move. They're all next to the door.
They're all leaning against the door.
Right. So the Norway book, I checked it out myself. The BEE who's adding all the Norway photos, that's definitely good to go. I would not add any from Yad Vashem, Jude's Monument, none of it. Just out of it.
So if they have a photo of the person, of the individual, do not add it to their profile from those. You would not do it?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I have not fully researched all the copyright and all the different countries and stuff, but I prefer to play it safe. And what I do is I add a subheader. So then if you add a subheader, it's more likely to be searchable in Google, stuff like that, instead of just having it in plain text. So I put the 3 little equal signs for header and write photo. And then I say a photo of this person is available at this link.
That's a great tip.
Or cite the source, or a family photo. And sometimes I'll say that I think it's a recent photo, or I estimate that they were 16 years old at the time of the photo, like a little something about the picture to make it more likely the reader of the profile will then click on the link and go see the photo.
And that's a nice tip, not only for this, but in general. I hadn't thought about that before, because how many of us have found photos elsewhere, and I'll say find a good and you're like, should I use it, should I not? And since I did mention Find a Grave, I do want to bring that up as well. I know that a lot of WikiTreeers go to Find a Grave to pull profiles in, and they will use that as an only source. That is getting the profile into WikiTree, but it would really be nice if you went to one of these other websites that are mentioned to try and pull in the source from there as well, in addition, because these other websites have specific information on them. They could have, as Elaine said, more accurate spellings, names, birth dates, death dates, locations. Sometimes they even have occupations. They might have different camps that they had been in beforehand, and a lot of information that we can use to build a profile, as opposed to Find a Grave. We just have a memorial that somebody did probably pull from one of these sites that we're looking at. But it would be nice to have something more than just Find a Grave. You know, we talk about thons and we talk about challenges a lot, and I was really thrilled when you said to use, you know, the word initiative instead of a challenge or a thon, because it's not really what this is. This is something completely different. So even though we do have a large goal, this isn't, let's, you know, throw in as many profiles as we can without giving them a little bit of love as well. And I think going to the websites that you've provided us does that. And by all means, Find a Grave as well. I do that. I will go and look and see that as well. Let me go ahead and tell everybody, this is the Auschwitz 2025 page, and I dropped a link on it. And the reason why this is important is because this is the page that you're really going to use a lot for your templates and to find out information. So as Elaine says, she's already given you a lot of the locations. She's talked about different source places that you can find information from. We've talked a little bit about WikiTree BEE. If you do not have WikiTree BEE, all these can be added via WikiTree BEE. And I'll say that again, WikiTree BEE. I do not know.
It's not BEE preview anymore. Like it's now all live on regular BEE.
And I do not know about Sourcer. I only know about BEE, and I can tell you that these are in BEE, and I've tried them in BEE. So I just want to mention that again. We're so used to Sourcer, so I just want to mention BEE one more time. And then Elaine kind of goes through everything. So this is the category that you're going to add. And what this also does is allow Elaine one place to kind of look and spot check, because if there's something that needs corrected or added or changed, this is where she kind of does spot check. And I love that she does it, because she actually spot checked me and corrected a location for me. And if it hadn't,
I wonder what it was, because we're not super if we were incredibly picky about locations, we would never get anything done, especially for the birth locations. Like they all have the same death location, but anyway, the only thing, well, one interesting one that I found when I was going through the list is to make sure to put, if you're working with Dutch records, the VAN or the DER goes first, because funny enough, Yad Vashem reverses it. So like somebody's last name on Yad Vashem is Van, or I'm not coming up with a good one. Anyway, on Yad Vashem, they have the first word reversed. So gotta sort of know. You have to be familiar with that idea.
And then also, again, we are talking about the victims. For this initiative, we're talking about the victims. There are survivors, and in some of the lists and some of the sources, if you just do a search for Auschwitz on some of these websites, you will get a combination of both. But for this initiative, We are talking about those who died in Auschwitz. And as Elaine said, 90% died using in this category.
Which still leaves a lot.
But we're talking about the sticker, for example, would be the victim, not the survivor.
Yeah, and that is useful. So the Auschwitz category is the most important for keeping track, but the fate equal victim thing is also really helpful for WikiTree Plus searches. So if you don't mind the tiny bit of extra copy paste, that's great. But if you don't, it's fine.
And keep in mind, you can keep this, you can format it, we can show you how to do this. It's very easy to do. Format it so it's in your clipboard, and it's just a click away. You don't have to keep coming back to this page and copy and paste. There's something that Elaine and I talked about. I am working with another person, Erin, on, excuse me, I am working with Erin on a, sorry about that. I'm working with, again, Erin on a list of children. And Elaine and I talked about this, and I've been asked this question by 3 other people. At this time, do not use, and I'm saying this as the project leader of Remember the Children, do not use the died young sticker. And I talked about it. I don't know if this is really the decision we both agreed on, but if you think about the died young sticker, it usually denotes something a little different than being murdered in Auschwitz. So and you don't want your profile to have tons of stickers as well. So if you're listening and you're working on children, I would not use the died young sticker at all. There are categories for it if you feel necessary, but I think I would still leave it out. What do you think, Elaine?
Yeah, I leave it out. I don't put it on. I just generally don't put on my ancestor profiles either. But yeah, the main image is the little cherub angel, and there's some other ones that are like a little pink ribbon, and I don't know, especially if you're already adding a country sticker or a Jewish roots sticker, then it's just a lot of stickers.
It's too much. And I will say also that I was working on Italian, so I did add the Italian roots sticker. I talked to Chris Vaio over in Italy, and added that. So if you, when in doubt, or if you have a question, reach out to the PLs or the people or in Discord about the stickers to add in general. But for this particular one, we're going to show you examples of probably what to use. And Elaine has everything on this template about what to use.
And if you think it needs editing, let me know. I'm the only person who wrote it, and I didn't have an editor. So yeah, it could be more organized, I'm sure.
Okay. Now the big question, the big thing. So if you're working on those that died in Auschwitz, then there are only 2 locations for their death that you can use. And Elaine, I think you said almost everybody will probably use one particular one, and that's this folded one.
Yeah, or you can leave out the Birkenau if you think they died at Stammlager, the main camp, or the Monowitz. Yeah. So, right. Oh, I see what you're saying about the dates. Yes, most people died after 18 January 1941. Therefore, use that one. The Germany Project helped us get the right thing. And I still, oh gosh, did I ask Guy? I need to make sure I have the right Polish one available too. Like personally, I think the German one makes a little more sense, but they both make sense. It's fine. The goal is for us not to have a zillion languages. If we want to do spot checks on, or use WikiTree Plus to find specific locations, if we have a whole lot in Hungarian and all the other European languages, it's harder to search for it. But if we just have Polish and German, that's good. And I just use the German.
And I will say, I would like everybody I would like to challenge you to go create a profile, and then in a death location, start to type in the word Auschwitz, and you will find there are multiple choices. We don't want you to use those. And
I'll paste from there. I'll put it somewhere else that's not buried on the under languages there. That's just where I put it. And it's also, but it's still stuck it's stickied on the main GDG Post because Flo put it on there.
Yeah. So I think you'll be fine. So again, what I do is I happen to put this also in my clipboard, but I happen to use WikiTree BEE My Places, and that way I can just click and it's instantly in there. I don't have to cut and paste every time. And if you have a question about that, feel free to reach out to Flo or reach out to me about how to use My Places on BEE. That's something completely separate, but I found that it's very easy to use with this particular project, because if you start to type in Auschwitz in the location, death location field on a new profile or any profile, it will not show this. So we want you to keep this location. This has been researched. This has been talked about a lot. And this particular location, as Elaine mentioned, after January 18th, 1941, is where the majority of your profiles are going to have a location. Elaine mentioned Israel and Sarah as middle names. Can you tell us why Israel and Sarah were attached to Jews?
Yes, Darla. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's usually my 8-year-old. Now it's my dog instead of my kid. Anyway, yes, so you can click on that if you want. But anyway, the German government added Israel and Sarah to the passports and other documentation for all Jews. I say that the paper there says that they added it specifically to people who didn't have very Jewish sounding names. So if like their name was Abraham, they might not have gotten the Israel added to it. I think that's what it says in the law. In practice, it seems like they added it to everybody. But anyway, so like if their name was Zygmunt or something, then they would definitely get the Israel added. So yeah, they just did that so they could track them and find them.
And I agree with you. It's sometimes hard to tell if it is a true middle name or not. I have taken the stance based kind of off your advice. I leave it off.
Yeah, leave it off. And it sounds like I'd asked Flo this last week, and I believe he said, my memory is so bad. I need to write everything down. He said that at that particular time period, hardly anyone had middle names. Is that what you said?
Right. Yeah, we did talk about that.
I don't have the chat thing because
I
just didn't get it to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, leave it off. There's almost no way that it was really their middle name, so just leave it off, and it'll be in the source section. So yeah.
And then a couple other. Now again, go to this page. This is down below, and I've also linked it. And if you need a new Holocaust category, for example, there are some ghettos that you're probably still adding. So, example, I needed one created, and you just come to GDG, and Elaine will look at it and create. As you know, with WikiTree, we try to be very exact categories, so it might take a little bit.
Okay. Yes. Oh yeah, and Christina was telling us about that too. Yeah.
So, and thank you, Flo. In our experience, Jews back then barely had multiple first names. So again, I would leave that off. And this is the Q&A. Even though this is for today's date, if after today you have questions or you have anything, feel free, still use it here because Elaine's monitoring this. And I know we're running a little bit late, but this is really important that we go through everything so everybody understands it's not scary. And if you have no knowledge of Auschwitz, or if you're not Jewish, or if you've never been to these websites before for sources, you can still do this. Trust me, it's very easy to do because the tools have been given to us, and Elaine's expertise has come in, and it's a perfect match. Let me talk a little bit about questions, and I know that we do have some questions in the chat as well, comments. We're going to go through those. And then after we do the GDG questions and the chat questions, we're going to do a couple quick demos. So if anybody has to jump off at that point, you feel free. Just remember to use BEE for the source websites that we've given you, and it's pretty easy to go from there. Okay, so Elaine, is this really scheduled for next year?
I think she's a project member. I think what she meant, Sven answered already. I think she was talking about the date. But that could have double meaning. Are we really planning to do it next year? Yeah, we're trying. But no, I think she was actually asking about what time we're talking today. And I read Sven's thing real quick, but I haven't really
So his personal mini project is to add people of Jewish faith who were residing in one German city in 1933. Not all of them were born in that city, and many did have other faiths other than imprisoned and victims at Auschwitz. So should I ask on GDG for one individually to try to get help to research that further?
Yeah.
Because I'm not really sure.
Well, I need to look at his page again. Last time I looked, it was like 30 people or so. But he could definitely just make a GDG post and then tag those different countries, because people, I don't think people get annoyed about it, because if they don't want to read WikiTree notifications, they don't open their weekly email. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. And also, one thing I did was, sorry, the dog. One thing I did with, I'm working on it very slowly on it. 𝐩𝐚𝐬𝐞 a WikiTreeer who passed away in 2017, has another cousin on WikiTree who wanted to add, he wants to transfer his entire website to WikiTree with like 100,000 people or something. So he chopped off 3,000 people related to a Jewish man and gave that 𝐩𝐚𝐞 to me. So I've added like 300 out of the 3,000. Anyway, I made a category for it and I put it on the top of my personal profile. I'm like, if you want to help with it, you can go here. So it's like just at the top of my profile, and a few Dutch people have helped with it and kind of just gone back and forth. And then 𝐤𝐤𝐤's question.
Let me just, Swin did say maybe I focus on Auschwitz victims and prisoners first. So Swin, I would go ahead and answer this, and I would say focus on Auschwitz victims so we can get them in January 27th, 2025. Okay. His question, has a decision been made yet on how to categorize people who are liberated from a concentration camp and then died soon afterwards? I know the Red Cross came in and they died soon afterwards.
Yeah. No, we haven't decided. 𝐤𝐤𝐤 and I have talked about this before, like a month ago, and I've just been busy. But anyway, I will ask, I'm saying it publicly, so I'll do it. I'll ask I'll put that question to our Holocaust Google group this week, and then hopefully next week put it on all of GDG for because there are one way we could do it rather than doing categories is using WikiTree Plus searches, but I kind of need more help and advice on, can we look at specific death dates or maybe just the year 1945. So I think and there's some location issues. Anyway, there's some ways to figure it out. And yeah, I need some help. Yes, you're welcome.
And I also put the link here for this page that we were talking about. And again, even though it says May 8th, feel free to still keep questions. If you have questions after this presentation, if you're viewed it again a week from now, you still have questions, then feel free to put them here. Elaine does monitor this. Okay, let's go through a couple. We have a lot of comments, and let's go through a couple of those really quick as
we got all. Maybe not.
And then we will go through a couple demos. So let's see. First, working on a profile on John Banner. So this is from David from his PL Global, which thank you, David, for being here, because as we talked at the very beginning, this is a global project that we're working on. So he's working on actually the Sergeant Sulch of Hogan's Heroes for TV Notables, and his entire family was murdered in the Holocaust. And very emotional, adding each to the tree. Elaine, do you have any advice for us about when we see things like small children or entire families?
I already told. Well, I no, I don't have great advice. I just don't. I'm in a different place than some. Well, I'm on some mild psychiatric medications anyway, so that helps blunt emotion. I can't recommend that to other people. That's an entire thing. I may or may not have upped my dose around November, December timeframe. Anyway, I also avoid the news as much as I possibly can. And I can't tell everyone to do so. I am so not in a place to tell people how to process it, because I have basically now set up my life to where I can do this work kind of full time, other than taking care of my kids and stuff. But yeah, this is kind of my life now. I almost feel like I can't, Darla, my goodness, I almost feel like if if it happened after 1945, I'm not paying attention. Like I clearly have some vague knowledge of whatever's things that are going on, but I don't read the news. So yeah, no, I'm like the worst person to ask.
But I think it's important.
I need someone else on here. I don't know.
But I think it's important that you mentioned it too, because you definitely protect your heart and soul with this. This is, and I'm just going to say from my personal experience, this is not something that I would work on right before I went to sleep, type of thing. I would give myself some distance from working on it to when I go to sleep. So sometimes I find that it's easy to quick add, and then you get stuck when you see a bunch of little kids or families. The one thing I did not realize, and after researching more from Elaine's wonderful details that she's provided, that I always assumed that people went to the camp and stayed there for a while. That's wrong. As soon as they got there, they were instantly murdered, and that was a big
on the person. And like that's more common with some groups of people than others. Like a healthy, strong man probably would have stuck around longer to work at the camp. But yes, that was a thing.
So there's little things that you find as you're working on this. So just protect your heart. Maybe step away if you have to. I found doing laundry, kind of changes my focus a little bit. Melanie, thank you for joining. I know Melanie is a big project member with this and has shared on social media as well. So we thank you, Melanie. And you may want to contact the Traveling Auschwitz Exposition. I did not know there was one. So now I'm curious.
I had to find out when they were going somewhere else. Like they don't seem to I'm curious if they're coming to the middle of the country or whatever. Yes, I can ask them. And I've done a small, yeah.
And I want to thank Lisa too. I volunteered to help. I haven't contacted Elaine, but it is on the top of her to-do list to contact you. So I love that too. And thank you so much. You're working on the Hirschman family as we go through and using Yad Vashem. And this was about Anne Frank's family that they moved in 1934. It was just fascinating because I know that you use the Dutch memorial a lot, Elaine, and I thought, well, I'm not going to go into that because I don't know anything about it. I don't know Dutch. I don't
There's 60,000
people from there. And when you started educating me on that, how many moved, I was like, okay. And then Lewis, thank you. Lewis has given us a couple comments. So I only have 2 relatives that I know of that were murdered at Auschwitz. I do have hundreds of others who were murdered elsewhere during the Holocaust. And that's important to mention as well, that there were camps everywhere. They were not just in Poland, and they were not just in Europe. And as Elaine mentioned again, MyHeritage does have some records, some death certificates. And we'll get all that listed as well on the GDG page.
Oh yeah, that, and I already told him that was, I think we've been through all the questions pretty much. That's the same as the 𝐩𝐚𝐫𝐭 that's also on the US H&M website. Oh yeah.
And as you mentioned, the Jewish roots, so we're going to show you real quick a profile in a moment. I think that is really handy. As Elaine said, you can use the category or the sticker. Some people like categories, some people like stickers. And
it does automatically add the category too. So it's just your preference.
And then, as Kathy said, I think it's important that you guys have shared with us some of your family, and we'd like to recognize that. My brother has a death book that our great grandparents' names are in, and as Kathy has said, like saying, to protect your heart and take breaks when needed, especially those of us that do have that personal connection to the Holocaust and do have a personal connection to the religion and the locations. As Swin had mentioned, he's working on a location where he's from. Isabel, thank you so much also for bringing in a different perspective from the French as well. With Elaine, we researched the family and found the father had in fact survived, yet Find a Grave had memorialized him as also
Isabel did amazing work on that family. And
this is another reason why maybe using only Find a Grave is not a great idea. I
doubt that happened very often, but it definitely did. So like as far as the Find a Grave mismatch thing, but yeah. And so many of the other sources are also in English, and we're all most looking at the comments, most people are
And then
for the native language.
this is only for Auschwitz. This initiative is Auschwitz 2025 because the anniversary date of January 27th, 2025 is coming up. It's 80th anniversary, I believe. And as Elaine mentioned at the top of the show, we are losing a lot of the survivors that can share the stories, and we want to honor and recognize all of them. But we are working on the Auschwitz 2025 initiative for those who did not survive.
But also, as you're adding family, you'll probably end up adding other camps and ghettos and other places too. So yeah, whichever way you work is perfectly fine. Okay, it is.
Okay, and then Lisa's mentioned, I've been reading a lot of World War II era books. I have a sense of various stories from here. And I have to say that since I've started this, I've been watching a lot of movies and documentaries on this as well. So I feel more educated in it. And
it's also hard to do profiles and do movies or books at the same time.
Yeah.
Like that's
it really brings it
one or the other. But it depends on your personality and stuff. So,
and then it was very common to have two lines, one for people who were able to work hard, the strong men, and then one for people to be immediately killed. And we're also, again, I feel like I have to say, protect your heart. We're also talking about families separated, either beforehand, maybe they traveled together and then they were separated as they got there. So we're talking about a lot of emotional work here, but it is very worthy. And if we can get one place for people to find, we can connect these people and their families so they're not just individual. As I think, Elaine, you mentioned 𝐻𝐸𝐷𝐿 does not have genealogical work. They don't connect.
Well, on some of the document, or on many of the documents, it will mention the parents' names and even a mother's maiden name. So that's super useful, but it's not set up as a genealogy website. That's
the benefit of what Elaine is doing here, is bringing the research that's been done, and we're adding the profiles. So then that way we can pick up on the genealogical side and families can be put back together on WikiTree. Okay, Elaine, would you
love the thing?
Let's talk a little bit about how to add profiles. Thank you everybody for sharing. It's been important that you also shared with us so we know where you're at. This, I did drop the link to WikiTree BEE. It's down below in the description as well. And I know Elaine and I need to think, if Flo, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you've been the one that's been coding everything. Ian possibly as well, but I know Flo has done 99% of the work to make this as easy for those that might be nervous to get these profiles in.
And y'all can click on it from the front page later because we're running out of time, but Ian built a database, which is amazing, which finds matched and unmatched
that's right.
Yeah, so I'm the long pole in the tent there because I had a way to search a couple websites and then I wasn't able to use wildcards like I thought I was going to be able to. So I've gone with a different approach. But anyway, we should have, because of Ian's work, we will have a master list of everyone who died there, and we can match it against what we've already done in WikiTree and who we're missing. So it kind of uses it to do. Yeah, it's on the GDG Post, but that's something Ian spent a lot of time doing.
And there we go. I wouldn't have been able to do without the immense work that Ian did before. So a shout out to both of you. I know that Flo and Ian are the lead creators for.
And they're very patient with me. I ask all sorts of questions, which one might term dumb questions, and they're great.
We're going to wrap this up real quick, but I want to show you one example. This is a profile that Elaine has done, and you'll notice the location again. You'll notice the categories that she's asked us to use. Here's the sticker. You could add the Jewish root sticker as well if you prefer. She has the category. You know, as you mentioned, if you add the sticker, it adds the category, completely up to you. This is where she also mentions that there is a family photo available at the website, which is handy. This is the source that of the person. All this information that you see down below was brought in from BEE. really easy to do. And just real quick, we're going to show you how to add his spouse. I have it already loaded up. I clicked on that link, that source link that Elaine has. I am not logged in. I am not signed up.
I've never logged in. Yeah, you don't have to. And that's not a nice, it's not a great example profile for a biography or whatever. I just made it yesterday, but this is good for just adding a person.
And as you go down, you see the photos. This is why she said there are photos there. She did not copy them over. I just want to point that out as well.
Rights reserved. There it says.
And some stories. It shows a map. Now, not all websites look this way. Not all websites have the maps and locations and things like that. But this is the one that Elaine has been using and feels comfortable with as well. So here's the family. And we are
go all the way down.
We are going to add, I missed it, the wife. We're going to add the wife here. So all I'm going to do is click on, I'm just going to show you how to add it from an unrelated person. There's other ways to use BEE. It's very self-explanatory, but I'm real quick because of time. We're just going to show you how to add a profile. We're not going to show you about connecting. Wait a second. So here's her profile. I don't even have to scroll down. I can just click on this B icon and it comes up. There's a couple of things I want to point out. The source is already here for you. If you click on this little table, it gives you all the options so you can add to the source. If you do not want borders on your table, just leave it like it is. But we want everything you see here, all those options. So I'm just going to click all. And you see up top, this changed. All I have to do is come down here and click unrelated person. If I was smart, I can do this real quick, I think, if I'm smart.
Yeah, just copy his ID. Yeah.
Let me bring this up again. If I'm smart, I can say add spouse. And just make sure I have the correct, it's not coming up. Okay, my computer's being a little crazy with the clip, but I'm gonna say add unrelated person. I will fix this. This is just my computer being funny. And you'll see that the name is here. I think this is where you're talking about the D.
Yeah, so this is a good, this is also a good example that so after you create the profile, for Dutch women, they keep their last name at birth. I'd put the Van Dalen in the other last name field. That may not be technically correct because she may not have ever used it, but it's useful for search purposes. And it's like kind of lower down on the profile. It's not super obvious. So anyway, yeah, go on profile.
Would you keep them both or would you remove it from the current married name?
Oh, I didn't. Wait, what did you just do there? You got the other last name field to come up?
I just copied it and put it there.
Oh.
Would you keep them?
Yeah, so keep DeVries.
Or would you delete it from?
No, current last name is DeVries. So type.
Okay. Current is DeVries. Yes. Not the last name at birth.
Yes.
Okay. So. And what should I keep at the last name at birth?
DeVries. Flo was able to split it where what do you call it? 𝐻𝐤𝐤𝐤 Monument's a little funny because they put the hyphen between the names. Like no one does that. That's just the way their website is. And Flo got it to where it's split, where it's always the last name. It's always going to be correct. It's coded to where the last name at birth is always correct. And then ideally you would go switch you would make sure the LNAB is still in the Netherlands. The women keep their last name.
Does this look correct for you?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And then here again, it has a location, but we don't want that location here. So
I just go to the page and copy paste, but you have that WikiTree BEE thing, which I do not have yet.
I do. I'm just going to copy paste it real quick though, just so everybody can see why I'm going back here. And again, if you type in Auschwitz, you're going to get several different things. We don't want you to use those. We want you to copy and paste and use this one. This one has been researched. It's been discussed. And it's the correct location for that period.
Okay, so now go to suggest location names in another language and put Dutch. And then you'll be able to put a comma after Rotterdam, and then Nederland will come up. So then you can have the right Dutch place. And then what's nice about having, so you gotta click out of that and click
Yeah.
the suggest location name. Yeah. And choose Dutch. And the nice thing about that is that when you then go to add their marriage info later, the marriage page will come up. Yeah, that's right. The marriage page will come up in Dutch. So then you can say, yeah, they married in Rotterdam in like 1900 or whatever. Oh, wait, that's the wrong date, but yeah. So yeah, I like to have the final, I like to have the language set at wherever they live. Sometimes I'll set it to German real quick. I realize I don't really need to do that if I'm copy pasting the proper Auschwitz location. Oh yeah, you have yours set up differently than me. I don't have the biography thing. I just have the source.
And if you do this at creation, then it will help with the creation of the biography. Otherwise, if you do it after the fact, it kind of makes you a little bit more work. I just leave the source in and I just hit continue to continue. And then if you want to look at the profile, this is where I would go in and add the categories and such here. I do mine a little differently. Again, I have, I usually take out my biography. I'm going to bring it back. Don't worry. Because what I do is I have things set up in my already, so I could add it in. So just keep in mind that it's however you have it set up. I have it generally set up to automatically add the biography. I'm just going to come over here and borrow some of Elaine's work real quick.
Yeah, that's all going to be the same. Yeah. And then I switched passed away to died, and sometimes I put murdered or killed or something too. But
since we have Flo in here, Flo, is this a B thing that you can change? Because we are bringing this in from B, not WBE. We're bringing this in from B. So I don't know if we can change the term.
That sounds like just a WikiTree thing, because it's you're just creating the profile for the first time. Once you run auto bio, then you can have it'll have died on there as an option. Yeah,
so I generally have died. I don't have pass away in my WikiTree browser extensions, so it's a site feature. Okay, yeah. So then that would be it, and you can say categorization if you'd like, and save. Now, I still need to connect. That was my little blip, but you'll see that the Jewish roots is here, the correct category for the camp, and you'll notice that the category is in the correct language for the location, and then we added the sticker.
And for a lot of these places that have parallel categories, you don't have to worry about the category being in the right language. Like the project will have it set up. I don't think they have Rotterdam in English anyway, but that's okay. You can, I prefer using the right language anyway, but because of WikiTree's parallel categories, it doesn't really matter. And just pick one, it goes across to all of them. And then what I would also do come in here, I would also mention that there's photos as Elaine did. That was a really good tip. I mentioned the photos, and I would make sure connect again. That was my fault for the blip there. And let me do this, because if I don't, I will forget real quick, and I do want to connect. Oh, I've never seen the connect button. It's a WBE feature. Okay. Yeah, I have it. I need to go look at all the settings. I've changed some settings to improve things, but I have not done all of them. What I always do, I just hit root search and go to Ancestry, and then that takes me to 𝐷𝐸𝐴𝐵 and gets their marriage information and stuff. Yeah. But so anyway. And as Elaine said, this is a basic one. If you wanted to, you could go and see if there's a find a grave. You could go to Ancestry, try and pull in their marriage information, because that's really handy too. When we start looking at connecting families, some names are the same. So this is handy. The one thing that I want to, before we leave this profile, mention, Elaine,
I just created this profile. Do I have to keep myself as PM?
No, you would want to, if you're not going to add more records soon, you should put Holocaust Project needs more records.
Okay.
You could also put Netherlands needs birth record and stuff, but I try to do those myself because I'm not sure the Dutch project will be very happy with me if I if I add that to literally everybody. But with the Dutch, it's so easy to find their birth and marriage. Well, it depends on when they're born. I forget when the cutoff is for privacy reasons. But
so
anyway,
I don't have to be PM of these profiles.
Yeah.
I can. So if I just click, this is again a WBE option. That red X is just a quick way to do that if you so wish. And that is how you do it for this particular source website.
And it's about the same for the other ones. Yeah. With
the only thing that I know of, and I believe we kept, no, did we keep this in Dutch? We did keep this in Dutch.
Well, so the photo captions will be in Dutch, but if you go down, when it says the word family, wife, etc., that's in English. So at the top right, it says Netherlands. That's where you click if you want to see it all in Dutch. So you're on the English, and I think those are the only two languages they have. They don't have French or German or anything.
And I will just mention real quick, one more example. If you're working on the Italian, this is like literally brand new. So I imagine Flo's still working on a little bit behind the scenes. If you're working on the Italian website, which is so easy, I love this one as well. Do not translate to English. Keep it in Italian. I will create this one super quick for you again with B. I'm keeping it with table. If you decide you don't like the table down below, you can use the ref like we're used to using. I like the table because I like to see everything kind of differentiated. I'm going to click all. I'm just going to change my border to, I'll tell you why I'm doing this in a minute. And it was that quick. All I had to do was that, and it was that quick. So if I click go, it comes up. And this is where this would be Italian, as Elaine mentioned.
Where's Smyrna? Is that in Italy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then death location, as we said, we're going to
wait, if it's Turkey, put it in Turkish.
Put it in Turkish.
Right?
And
yeah, unfortunately, I do not know every town name in all of Europe, so I can't.
There we go.
Well, and for some of these places, it might be hard that one's an easy one, but there are a bunch of smaller towns, like towns in Poland there are like 20 names for the same place. Some of them are legit hard to figure out.
And I'm going to create this so you can see what it looks like when I created the table with just adding lines around the table. There you go. I personally like the table because I think it's easier to see as opposed to just the ref. So just different options. But the only reason I wanted to mention also the Italian website is if you do use it, it's extremely easy to use, but you have to keep it in Italian. Do not translate into a different language yet. And if you'll notice, it does come over with some of the information in Italian. They were Italian, but the biography will be.
And you can put a couple of Dutch members in particular, I guess just that's what I've been looking at lately. We'll also put the biography, I guess Dutch first, English second, is so biography with an FIE or however you spell it at the end. So you can do 2 biography headers. And I don't think that ever causes a database error. I think you'll only get a database error if you have 2 source lines. So anyway, you can have the profile in a couple different languages. Yeah.
And I'm just going to add the Jewish roots and say categorization. Just to end this tour, this is one that I first did. I did not long ago. Is not that scary. We've got the locations. We've got the biographies. This is a child. I did not add the died young. I did add the sticker. And if you were working from a list where people have some shared journeys, then you could actually add the full transport list, because maybe people can research genealogy from this list. There are, in-laws and things like that might have traveled together. And this is just a story of what happened to these children with the sources. So if you do work from a list, sometimes you can add a little bit more to the biography. But I just wanted to point out this is what the sticker looks like. Okay, guys, we went through a lot, and thank you, Elaine, for being here, for discussing this. If you have any questions, please reach out to Elaine. She's on Discord, and she's on GDG. She's also project leader. You can find her on Jewish Roots and Holocaust, and also USBH. So you can contact you a couple different ways.
Yeah. And if you love doing categories or anything about Roma people, please contact me. I need help with those things.
I think
and a lot of other things too.
I think you'll find that you have somebody watching now that has some expertise with that will probably reach out to you within 5 or 10 minutes, is my guess. And thank you, everybody that has joined us. And Elaine, do you want to come back next month and kind of go over the progress and see how we're doing and answer more questions?
Maybe 1 or 2 months.
Okay.
It's challenging. I can do it.
And we'll catch everybody up and try and keep the progress, show you the progress that we've made.
Well, 1 or 2 months, we'll be back. Yep.
Please bring this information back to your individual projects or your other WikiTree friends. As we mentioned, 100 people doing 18, 19 profiles a day until the 27th of January. But if we could get more, that would be fabulous. If we could get more WikiTreeers just to help out.
All righty. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.